And
Mm-hmm.
so, failure is so much a part of your success.
Yes.
It is so a part of the DNA and the heartbeat of becoming a momentum shifter, really. When a man gets connected to who he was gets connected to who he is and what he was called to do, then he becomes unstoppable. I'm enjoying the ride myself.
Yeah.
To interview these men, ask these questions, and to have just so much gems of knowledge. It's so important to focus on the men. God just began to reveal to me about the importance of men being back in their place.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Business Acumen with Cross Cultural Talks. I am your host, Robinette Cross, and we are still in our Wonders of Wellness series. Today's guest has been able to remove the stigma of ADHD and allow himself to be fully enveloped and used by God. He is a motivator, an evangelist, husband, father, and the host of the successful online show Primal Man of God. It is a movement unlike any other. Please welcome with me my spiritual brother, Mr. Bruce Waller Jr.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, where did you grow up? Because I know now you relocated to Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who is Bruce Waller?
Well, Bruce Waller is a native of Virginia. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. That's where I was born and raised. I I lived there most of my well, now I'll say not most of my life, half of my life.
Mhm.
I was there from birth to about the age of 14. Um, I'm from the Fulton Hill area, so like more so in the suburb area, but that's where I grew up at. But who is Bruce Waller? Bruce Waller didn't be didn't become until he was about 14, and that's around the age of where kids start to find themselves anyway, like really who they are as an individual, as a person. And that's where like everything kind of changed for me. I know 13, I moved away, or we were starting to move, going to Texas. And
Wow.
that's where life changed. Yeah. Um I left. I was in the middle school at the time, and I was going into high school, and I would have went to a different high school, but the high school I would have went to was either Armstrong or something like that. But I went to a school in Dallas, Texas, in my ninth grade year. Um, I was just throughout school, like from fourth to eighth grade, I was in learning disability classes. And I tested out. I told myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to test out of these classes because I know there's more to me. And I just knew that. I knew that. So going into ninth grade, I was like, I'm not going to be in these classes. So ninth grade, totally tested out of it and just went mainstream. So everything was new, new life, new education, new everything. And so I just began to just go on a journey, and that journey started with God in in Texas, where I got saved. That's where I kind of like my life changed. Um, I mean, I'll say maybe a year or two later, that's when I really gave my life to God. But stuff just started to change for me there, and that's where I developed my diversity, just my connection to people more than anything. I was exposed to many cultures. I was exposed to a bigger city. I was exposed to bigger life. So that I'll say that experience molded me, or it was a beginning foundation that I could remember that just molded me to who I am today. There's just the go getter, the guy that's hungry for God, the revivalist. All that started there
Woo.
14, 15 years ago. So that's where that started. I mean, so many things so many ways I can hit that question. Who is Bruce Waller? Because we're multifaceted beings. So it's like
Mhm.
I could say who is Bruce Waller, but what angle of Bruce Waller do I want to come from? So that just goes to show you what type of individuals we are. We are multifaceted,
Mhm.
multifunctional. We're just awesome. And so to tell you who is Bruce Waller is that Bruce Waller is someone that is here to impact and change and recreate and and where I came from, I'll never regret my story. Like where how I grew up was not the best, and what I went through was not the best, but it was all trial and tribulation for me to make me who I am today. It was my hardships became my championships. So I needed those to feel vulnerable, to be broken, to have heartache, and to know those things at a young age, and to be crushed and disappointed, and not understand and do understand. So to have all that happen, it was my issues were turned in for diamonds, for gold, and I became something. But I'll never neglect, or I can never forget where I came from or where I started, because where I started was just gave me insight to where I was going. So that's just a little bit that I can share. That so many ways I can hit that, but that's what I can share for right now. I can think of.
Yeah. So you said that one of your pivot points, because right, life is full of several of those pivot points, aha moments, realizations, move transitions. One of your pivot points was when you were 14 and you left Virginia and you went to Texas. What caused you to go to Texas?
Well, my mom got married. My mom she got remarried after she's been out of marriage for some time, and that's why we moved, because he lived in Texas, and so that's why we went out there to live with him. And so I was only out there for a couple years, and then we moved back because they just had disagreement, and we moved back. So I came back after 3 years being out there. But when I came back, I was a completely different person.
Yes.
Totally different. But
Yes.
but that was the reason why. That's why.
Okay. Good. So that means that you finished, you said you were 9th, 10th, 11th grade in Texas, which means you came back
In my 12th
in
grade.
high school your senior year and finished out your senior year
Yeah.
in Virginia.
Yes.
How was that as a transition? Because I know sometimes it can be difficult when you're going to a new school and you had friends and everything, and then just you had to up and leave and start something fresh and new
Yeah.
again here.
Yeah, I would say I totally I mean, I was out there maybe 3 years, 2, 3 years, but in that time I did make some good friends. But coming back, I think that I wasn't so like unstable, because I was still familiar with Richmond. I came back to my hometown.
Mm.
I did know some people that I went to middle school with, but it wasn't it was a just completely different individual. But it was rough just moving back from there and
Yeah.
coming back to Richmond, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But I think I was prepared for a change to come
Okay.
back. I felt like at that point I had some insight, or just understanding, like I had to come back.
Yeah, had to come back.
I had to come back If I did not come back, I would have never met my mentor, never met my leader.
That's right. That's right. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your mentor, your
Yeah,
leader? I mean, we're connected to the same lineage, but
yeah,
you are
totally.
research.
Yeah, Joseph Hackett, Joseph Hackett. So when I came back, shortly after I came back, I got connected with God's Image. Curtis and I lived in the same complex when I moved back, and we just immediately hit it off when I moved back in. I know Curtis is a little bit older than me, but I think he was either at the end of he was in college when I was in high school. But when I came back, I just was everything was different about me. They used to call me Jesus boy, and the reason why they thought my name was Jesus, because I told them I just came back from Texas and I had a Jesus belt on. Like back in those days, 2005, 6, the belts were in. Like you could have the belt on and you could wear the belt across, and it being that metal belt. And it said Jesus. It was like, your name Jesus? I was like, no, man, because I was dressing like I was from Texas too. I was like, no, man, that's who I represent. That's what I always have to say. And people was like, oh, that's what's up, bro. So they was like, man, we thought your name was Jesus. We thought you was Mexican. And I was like, no, man, no, none of that. So Curtis used to always get on me about that. Like, man, you always wearing that belt. I was like, well, you know, me and Curtis, we just be clowning. But Curtis one day came to me and was like, Bruce, I want to connect you to somebody. You know, at this time in my life now, I was seeking more. I was 17, about to turn 18 in high school, my senior year, and that's where I met Julian as well. I met Julian in 11th grade or 12th grade. I met Julian in my 12th grade year. I met a lot of my friends that I still have today. Curtis was like, "Hey, I want you to come with me to meet a guy. He's just powerful, and I want you to hear what he's talking about." So Curtis and I, we were both already just like saved and, you know, just trying to discover more. And when I heard Apostle speak at his house, and we was in Harlem Park, and we sat on this couch, I mean, he didn't even get 10 minutes in. I was like, "You my pastor." He's like, "I don't even have a church." I was like, "I don't care." I said, "You my pastor." And from that point, it is all she wrote. It's just like, I can't even begin to tell you, like, making that decision 12 years ago, and up to the point now, it's just like, I'm glad I made that decision. So that really was another major impression on my life that changed me forever, to even be where I am today, to do the things that I do. It's so important to have a mentor in anything, whether it's life, business, all that. It's so important to have someone that holds you accountable. So that's how I met Joseph Hackett, and we've just been close. I've been close to him ever since, and I'm glad I made that decision. I'm glad I just listened to God in that time, in that moment, because I could be like, you know, it's just been another guy, but really, most definitely somebody that impacted my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And is he the reason, because I know Apostle and Pastor Lacey actually live in Asheville as well. So is that the reason why you moved down to
Yeah.
continue to serve?
So I was before I came here, I was in the military, and in my military career, I was heavy in leadership. When I was like, me and Julian was talking about, we just need a whole nother level. We just needed to put things that we had put in practice, like learning leadership, learning self-discipline, learning these things. We just felt like we needed more. Like we needed to implement it. We needed to try it out somewhere. And Terry was like, "Man, y'all need to go to the military." So I was like 22 years old at the time. So I mean, from 18 to 22, this is the time where another major impact on my life that shifted me into leadership, moved me into just finding out what was inside of me amongst people that I don't know. So we made a decision to go, and the apostle was like, "Yeah, go for it." And when I went to the military, and I can share you about that, I'm just trying to answer your question, but
Mm-hmm.
in the military, this is where I learned a lot of my leadership skills on how to lead soldiers, how to lead individuals, how to develop them, how to cultivate them, how to motivate them. And I tested it all out there, like everything. I laid it all out on the table there. So I mean, that was really intense. I was just eating up everything. It's just like whatever's inside you, if you put in the proper environment, whatever's inside you comes out.
Yes.
So I didn't know how much of a leader I was, and how much was invested into me, just in relationship with
Mm-hmm.
God, in relationship with my leader, relationship with my brothers, and all of us just learning. You just forget. You get so caught up in what you're doing and don't really know how powerful what's inside of you, like how powerful it really is. But when I got out, or when I was getting out, I was in Richmond, at Fort Lee, and Apostle was moving to Asheville to start ministry. He said, I think at that time, I can't remember if Pastor Marlon was taking over the church in Richmond, and Apostle was leaving. I think that's around that time when that happened. I'm not sure though, but he left. Well, he was in Atlanta or something. He left and went to Asheville to start ministry. And he asked me. He was like, "Will you come and help me assist in building this church?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then that was the first time I ever moved away from my family. Like, you know, I may have lived outside their home, but I never like moved away. But I'm glad I did, because it really just put a whole lot of things in perspective for me about just independence, you know, being a man, things of that nature. And so I was just in a playing field where I had to learn new things that I wouldn't have learned on my, you know, living near my mom or my family, you know. So I was always, my mom was always trying to make me a mama's boy. And I was like, no, no, no. And I was like, don't touch my stuff. Don't iron my stuff. Don't touch nothing. Let me do it. Well, my brother ate it right up. He went like mama's boy all the way. Like, yeah, you can do it for me, mom. Yeah, do that for me. No, don't do it for me, because I say if you keep doing it for me, I'm not gonna be what I need to be. So I've always been like that with my mother. But that's why we went out to Asheville. You know, we went out there to assist him in ministry and help build. And the first church that was out there was the Restoration Church of Asheville. And we was out there. I mean, that's before he before he went to prison. But we were out there for some time, just helping building and building phase, and a whole lot of stuff opened up for me. One of the first big business connection was having my own radio show on 95.7 FM, The Choice, the Bruce Walhalla Show. Do you remember that?
No.
You didn't know that was like a big
Wait a minute,
thing.
what year was that? Wait a minute, Bruce. What year was that?
2012, 13, 14.
I probably
Like,
wasn't even in this country, Bruce. I'm sorry.
you probably weren't in the country. But yeah, my first big business venture, well, the first business venture before that was I had a nonprofit called Momentum Shifters. Apostle said you should start a nonprofit called Momentum Shifters that targeted, you know, low to mid income, you know, populations. And one of the first big events I had 800 people come out to the first event, and it was called Breaking the Cycle through dance. And it was the most, we had community partners like the police and DARE came out. And I mean, it was huge support. And the churches, I mean, it was so huge that I was like, whoa. I was like, how did this happen? You know, just the support from Asheville, the people that came out, all the forms of dance that was there, from hip hop to Latin to African. I mean, you had different ballet. I mean, you had all types of dance, but it was the message. It was breaking the cycle for the generation. And so many people was attracted to it. And then from that, somebody offered me a radio show from me being a host on my own, in my own thing. So the Momentum Shifters, I didn't know much about a nonprofit, but I just obeyed. I just like, you know what? I've never done anything like this before. Apostle's like, you should give it a shot. I did it, and all these pieces came together. And that's why I started to learn how to build relationship at a macrocosm level, like how to build relationships in a widespread view, like with multiple people at one time, connect to many people in one room, you know, and that's where I learned it. That's where I found how to host. That's where I found really how to expound, like to expand myself in a room. That's where I really learned it. And it just was a natural thing. And from there, the Bruce Walhalla Show, it was a Christian urban radio show on 95.7 FM, The Choice. And from that, that's where Synergy got birthed. So you see, like, from the Momentum Shifters, and from that got birthed the Bruce Walhalla, and what got birthed from that was Synergy 150. Just all in obedience. And a lot of those things are still with me today. Just those things that I have learned. Having to get through businesses to find the true one, the business or the niche that is for me, like what I'm supposed to do. So people's like, man, I don't know where to start with business. I was like, you just need to start. Just start, you know, especially when you're in your 20s, your early 20s, and when you're young, go ahead and dive in, because you have time on your side, or at least some. Well, you know, when you get in 30s and 40s, you need to have try that out for the past 5-6 years on what you want to do, what you not want to do. But you know, everybody has a story. You know, some people start late, and it all works out. It's like sometimes the places you do not want to be are the places that you're called to. you know. But when you listen and you hear and you obey and you continue to move forward, you begin to see what comes around the corner. Like, God, like, I don't want you to stop there. Like, that's not where I wanted you to stop. Like, this is where I want you to become. And then from that place to now operating at a governing level in schools and in paradigms and the canopy of thought and implementing plans that impact people, like, that is kingdom. Truly is. And where you are given that key to impact and to support and make connections from people in high places, people in low places. It's just like, it's all about the development. Well, who am I, you know, and what am I doing? So, you know, when he asked me to be the senior pastor, I was like, I'm not a pastor. So I always ran from that. I always just ran from the calling as a pastor or as some form of a minister. I always would do it, but it's just like, I really started believing in what I had on the inside of me when it was just me and my brothers and sisters. And so I did that for a time, but then I just totally stepped down. I was like, no, I'm not playing politics. I'm not doing this. I just shut the church down. I didn't understand. I shut the whole church down, Robinette. I said, Apostle, I said, I know that you way over there, you know, these are the letters of Paul to me. I understand, but I gotta shut this church down. Oh, I'm sorry. So I stepped down. I stepped down. You know, and I think I should have stayed there, but I was still learning myself. I was like 25, 24 still.
Oh, that's hard. Yes.
Yeah, 25. I think it was like 25. It was like 5 years ago, and I was like, no. So I stepped down from that. But then I went through this season of my life where I was, you know, I was finding myself, you know, a lot more, just like still development. It's just like in my valleys. Like, I look at it now because I really never really reflected on this, but looking back in hindsight on the things that I've been through and what I went through that led me up to this point, I was like, man, those were some very impactful moments in my life that led me to who I am today, to become, you know, you would never know. You just would never know, like, the storyline. And the story most time doesn't look like it lines up with your success. And so, you know, failure is so much a part of your success. It is so a part of the DNA and the heartbeat of becoming a momentum shifter, really. It's so a part of it. So when I see people with substance, I know that they went through substance like testing. They went through those trials and those tribulations. Like, I know when I see someone that is a genius, you know, and is implementing at their and is operating at their level, I know there was some trial and tribulation there. So for myself, you know, doing the things that I'm doing, I was like, it didn't come for free. Like, I had to go through to get out, to see, you know, like, that was just a part of the process.
You were talking about, that was real good. You were talking about Synergy 150 as well. I was going to segue into that, but that was you made such a nice transition when you were explaining how it moved from momentum shifters to Bruce Wallaholler to setting you up for Synergy 150, which is such a large scale collaboration that as a revivalist, I think that's important that you are able to foster that type of environment. So why don't you tell everybody about what Synergy 150 is?
So Synergy 150, for the disclaimer, just so people know what it is, it's the ultimate mix of musician styles and genres all together. It is designed to foster change through music, through performing arts, through different tribes, through different nations, and showing the face of God in one place, out of the realm of what religion looks like. So it literally is a revival and it's to foster change. It's to usher in the movement, the heartbeat of God. And when I think about the last synergy that I did to the first one I did, I'm like, oh my goodness, God, you are real. Like, it is so crazy. But when I first started that thing, it was like 2013, and we got a little spot at Creatures Cafe. And that's how most revivals start, man. It starts with you and a group of friends. When people have connection, you don't need that many. You can have 12 or less. But when you have that connection to people in such a way, like, people want the unthinkable. People know what we're dealing with. People want a change. People want a revival of the heart, the mind, the soul. And so I remember clear as day, and this is, on the page too, I tell a little bit about the testimony. I was remembering talking with the apostle at the time, and I was like, man, I was still doing Bruce Walla Holla, and I was like, I want to do something along the lines of music, because I was very heavily involved in music, because Asheville is very musical, very artsy. And I was like, I want something that's relevant to Asheville, not knowing that this was so much bigger than just Asheville. But I said, I want to do something relevant to Asheville, and just about God, about music, about his people, about performing arts. So I started flipping through the world, just kind of sitting there, and Psalms 150 came to me. And when you look at Psalm 50, it talks about let everything that have breath praise the Lord. And it goes through these lists of instruments, and it goes through the way to praise God, like with excellency, praise him with the loud voice, praise him, with triumph. It just goes through like what it looks like to give God glory through his people. And so I was like, man, how about I take that and push it into different genres of music. Each instrument to me was like different genres coming together. So then Apostle was like, also like different cultures and stuff. I said, how about synergy? I said, how about Synergy 150? So we were sitting there talking about it. So Synergy 150 got birthed out of a conversation. We putting our heads together in 2013. And then I was like, man, I'm gonna do my first Synergy. And I'll never forget the day. It was October, was it 2012? It had been 2013, October 5th, 2013, and I did my first one. And I found everybody just off a whim. Like, I'm going to a parking lot. Found this one young lady named Soleil, a phenomenal artist. I mean, she was with Synergy from the beginning. Like 5 years going strong with it. Like, totally not knowing that this was turning more than just a event. It was turned into a culture, a community of hundreds of people to date that are a part of a community. Not knowing that it started with her and then a few others, and I started meeting these people along the way. It's like, hey, I got this event, would love you to be a part of it. And the first one, and then we just like being in the heart of the city. And Asheville is mostly Wicca. They don't believe in God. It's a lot, very heavy in other religions and stuff. And we love everybody, but people from all religions were literally coming to this event and listening to what was going on. So the first event, was amazing. It was just like, whoa, what is happening? And I would air the Bruce Walla Holla show, like let people know about it in the city, what was taking place, and the people would come out to it. So having that platform as Bruce Walla Holla and tying it in with Synergy 150, they went hand in hand for a very long time, like 3 years, 4 years. And I presented it that way. I kept working on it night and day just to make sure that it was something that the integrity of Synergy was kept, not knowing this was turning into almost like a church. It was turning into a culture of people who were hungry for the unthinkable move of God. And so to be a general, or be in a position as a general to help people experience God in a way that they have never experienced them before, it was like, wow, this is big. this is big. And I saw the vision before I even started, like how big this was. And to see from there to the last one, we did one last year. We had people come travel from different countries, Canada and Mexico. I mean, New Mexico. I mean, Virginia, and driving from Georgia, driving from Baltimore. I mean, people were sick, and some people that were a part of it, they got like real sick, that got stung by like multiple bees, and they went to the hospital, got out the hospital after we prayed with them, got out the bed, and still came to be a part of the worship. So it showed me the importance, like people want more than just, want to be a part of something. So for her to even come there, she was one of the Spanish worshipers. For her to even come there still and drive 8 hours after she had gotten out the hospital, being stung and almost died, it was just like, it touched my heart. Like, that stuff you cannot make up. It begins to show you. So the synergy has just been something that showed me like how to make relationships and can make real true connections with people from all backgrounds, all cultures, and all of them to be in the same room. Out of this, what also got birthed out of this, and something that is a part of the platform, that's going to actually be tied into Synergy too very soon. This is the Primal Man, having men, tied into Synergy, like worship and stuff, like doing events with men. So that's something I haven't laid out yet, but we did Synergy twice last year, and we had people come from all over. I mean, just totally being a part, and just worshiping with us and connecting. And it just I just want to make connections, people to make connections with others, get to know their other brothers and sisters, or see a side of God that they may not have seen if they stay in their environment, through music and expression. And so I always wanted to just be a connector between people and God.
That's good stuff. You actually made a really good transition. First of all, I'm going to take a moment to tell you, congratulations on your new nuptials. David and I have been in this thing for quite a while now, so y'all are like legit newlyweds.
Baby.
So yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. You got to, love is beautiful, and so there's nothing. I mean, it has no maximum capacity, which is good. So I'm so happy for you, Naomi. She's beautiful, and you met her in Vegas. Is that right?
Yes. I met her in Vegas through Pastor Marlon. Well, he had the church out there, but that connection was made. And it was, I can't even explain this. I mean, we have not been married, but as much as I'm breathing, like that's how long we've been married. It's
about 3 months, right?
Goes in and comes out. That's how long we've been married. So just a breath. That's how long we've been married. But it's been phenomenal. It feels like a long time, much longer than since December 18th is when we got married. But when at the beginning of the year, I actually was working on the next Synergy that was going to be September. The next one was supposed to have been in March of this year. God began to just start putting more about marriage on my heart, and I've been working, in the background for a couple of years, but probably before that, just like becoming a husband before you become a husband, and preparing in that way, in that aspect. So it's only been a year. I haven't even known her a year yet. So it's just beautiful, and it was totally Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
I would normally felt weird about something like this, but God's hand was so on this relationship, and I'm just so glad that I just defied what I thought or what other people thought, and listened to God when it came to when a man findeth a good thing. And I do believe in counsel and wisdom, and we most definitely have that. But when it came to me thinking of doing something like this or moving into this direction outside of not being married and being very single to moving into marriage, I know that I've been preparing for that for some time. And then to actually see her, it started with just a simple conversation. And that conversation led to heavy worship and to major prayer and just loving on each other. And it's just like, yo, this is crazy. And it just by happened to be that I was coming there in August anyway. August. And I actually engaged her in the same week that I met her. Yes.
You did?
That's how it happened.
Wow.
I only known her for 3-4 months, long distance. And then when I went over there in the week that I met her physically is the week that, in that same week, the end of the week before I left to come back here to engage her.
Wow.
So that, yeah, very fast. Well, most people say, but I'm telling you, man, when God's hand is on something like that, it's just like, I knew. I immediately knew.
That's beautiful. And not only have you found a wife, but you are now a dad.
Yes. Yes. Her name is Gianni. She is a beautiful child. Gianni, you know, I can't explain this, like, because it's still so new to me to have Naomi and Gianni in my life. It's just like this harmony that we have when we live together. Just this peace. Like, I mean, you can't when I think about it, I see the things that are stacked up against a single mother with a daughter who is still learning herself, and then for me to step in, that should look like chemical combustion. Like, it should not. It should be crazy. But to not even know Gianni a year and not know Naomi a year yet, but still just moving in together, living together, it's just so much harmony, so much order, so much peace, just so much love to each other. It's a blessing. That's what I'm really doing with my family. Just really building strong, deep foundation. Just simple stuff like worshiping together, like praying together, eating together. They know that I'm always there for them. I'm always going to be the same. I'm not going to change up. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to forsake. I'm going to be there. You know, and this is how you know I'm going to be there. Let's sit down and talk together. Let's eat together. So, yeah, Gianni's a blessing. She actually is. She's doing track now, and she's about to enter early college. So these things of like going to early college and getting a degree, Naomi, you know, working for herself now, and because the consistency is there for them to do these things, they don't have to worry about their needs at a, you know, just at a subatomic level. They don't have to think about survival mode, how to survive, because, you know, now they can search themselves. They can go into higher levels of their needs of knowing who they are, you know, discovering self, you know, knowing how to give back to the world. They don't have to figure out what's going on in their heart and stuff. Like, you know, stuff like this happens when that foundation is really set.
And you started Primal Man. For people who don't know, you started Primal Man this year. Is that right? So just give us a little synopsis of what Primal Man is and what viewers can expect, or viewers expect when they watch it.
The first one that I did was with Marlon, and it just turned into, at this time, I was just seeking how to be more of a man, like finding my identity as a man, because I knew marriage was coming. This all got birthed out of discovery of myself in God. This wasn't even like a plan. I became more of a man as it was just to have conversation about men in church, but it's by my search of becoming more of who God has called me to be, more of the man that the original man that God has called me to be. And it all came together just like that. It's like the Primal Man of God. And it just happened that I was going to interview Marlon to assist him and like let people know about the church. And it all came to me like, boom, just like that.
That's awesome.
And the first one I did was with Marlon, because I was doing, that's where it came from. I was researching just the primitive nature of men, like outside of God, and then I was doing the original men of God, like some looking at Adam, Abraham, all these men, and how they took care of their wives. And I started doing teachings. It was like the Primal Man teachings, and then it turned into a show. But it was all in my discovery. It didn't. It was not a business idea. It was not a plan or anything. It was just me searching 5 months ago. Was it been 5 months? No, November, December, January, March, April. Yeah, it's been 5 months. It started in November. The first one I started was in November. And it just all came out of a search to being a better man. Because I was talking to Naomi at the time too. Just like, how can I be better? How can I be a better man? And then just having these interviews, asking these questions all came out of a search. And I was like, we are going to search together. It was like a join me men in searching together. And then just knowing my mind, it just became a thing. Knowing me, I'll take something and run with it and just put it together and just create it and start making a movement.
I love it.
This thing has become, I have interviewed some phenomenal men, from doctors to, just to marriage coaches, all of these individuals. I'm just like looking through it, to financial analysts. I mean, it just got big. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow. I'm looking at it right now. It's like I have done many, many videos, and it has became very, very big. And so now you have these men all over the United States and even the world. I interviewed somebody in the Philippines. Or overseas. His name was Gershon, and he was in Meserac at the time when we were talking. He's a motivational speaker over there. And so just making these connections with men, and just like our mission is like, it's just more so to realize a society of men that embodies the true Adam, to expand kingdom living on earth, to create godly order in all aspects of life. Men who are serious about establishing God's plans to better communities, families, marriages, businesses, people, and more. And that all just came out of a question of how to become more. And that's how all this got birthed. And it has been phenomenal. It just was like a hit. Like as soon as I did it, it was like boom, like fire. It's like, you just don't know which one is gonna be. It's just what you just listen, just obey. And when I did it, it was just like, wow, connecting with men, and it even turned into a forum.
Yeah.
The panel discussion, everything falls on leadership. Did you see that? I was at the.
I did.
So I really, what helped me is doing these big events over time, how to work with multiple people, coordinating, all of that. And so I one of the things I always had was I could always I was always a visionary. But the thing is, like, being the visionary, you also have to know how to work the legs. So you can tell somebody how to work the legs, how to work the feet. And so by me going through these situations, I can be in a position now to where, I can be a visionary for something or a CEO, but I know how to operate on the very baseline, because I always want to be there too. And that's what a true leader is. It's not a boss. A boss is not somebody to behind the desk tell you what to do. But a leader is someone that is setting the example. They're showing you, like, this is how you do it. And so I always wanted to be a servant leader. Like, I'm not too far away to be touched, to not understand where you're going through, where you've been. And so that's how Primal Man got started. And it's just been a ride. I'm enjoying the ride myself. To interview these men, ask these questions, and to have just so much gems of knowledge. It's so important to focus on the men. God just began to reveal to me about the importance of men being back in their place, and how that brings so much order back to the world, back to women, to children, all of it, and all this disorder that is taking place, all these problems that we are having on so many levels could be just stopped, or beginning to stop, when man decides to set up and take on his responsibility by responding with his ability.
But now I see men saying, continue this. I needed that. sharing it, being on. I mean, because it's something when you also let men know how important they are to the structure of society instead of
Yes,
saying that, women can also be no, yes, they can, but there is a realm of operating. And you have to sometimes go back to, that's why it's primal. You have to go back to the basic foundation, like you were saying earlier, to build that tower. And so you can't skip a step.
absolutely. I totally agree. No,
Yeah.
you totally agree, and it's not enough men loving on men to encourage that growth,
Mm-hmm.
because a man can only affirm another man
Come
to
on.
be a man,
Come on.
and it can't be to where a woman affirms them. And I always say to them, it is important for the mother and the father to be there, but you have men being females because all they know is women.
Right. The mama, auntie, grandmommy. That's what,
That's all you know. So
yes.
yeah, and operating out through feminism, when the masculine trait is so important to have, because it brings something totally different to the
Yes.
planet, that it has been excommunicated, or it has been like frowned upon for a man to be masculine,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and it's an unspoken law. Like, if I'm masculine, I'm being too much.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to, I don't know what the word is, but you want to take that from a man. It's like taking his essence of who he is away from him,
Emasculate.
and to just downplay him. And so men have become trapped. They have
Mm-hmm.
become shackled. They have become quiet muzzles. Like, I just see muzzles over men's mouth and like
Mm-hmm.
cages, so to speak, over their head, because they can't like be who they're called to be. Like today, I have a thing called Cougar Squad, but it's for individuals that are at the school that are not doing too well at the school. But one of the things we do like leadership training and like crisis interventions and things like that. But one of the things we talk about was anger.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly the people in my class are African American boys
Mm-hmm.
that are in gangs, that are, they call them troublemakers. They're the ones that are not doing too well in school. But I told them that anger is a trait or an emotion that you were born with. So it's not something that's wrong with it, because it's needed in its proper place and setting.
Right.
That
Right.
energy needed. I said, so the question I asked them was like, where do you think it should be? They was like, well, it's there to is there for like defending, or for like war, or for like, to bring back structure. And I said, absolutely. I said, anger in its proper place is not bad at all. I said,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs to be put in its proper place. I said, the reason why are in gangs, or the reason why you want to fight, is because you have masculine traits, and no one has ever taught you how to utilize them correctly.
Right.
Nobody taught you how to control your emotion. And so it's just like, just those traits of a man that have been frowned upon for so many years. It's so important to understand that that is who a man is, and he must be accepted into a society. The reason why that is not accepted is because men begin to understand that they are kings, and that's dangerous to a system
Yeah.
that is designed to control that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want you to know that you're a king. I don't want you to know that you're more than. So let me demasculate you. Let me take away
Mm-hmm.
your pride from you. Let me
Mm-hmm.
keep you away from opportunities. Let me create racism. I mean, all this stuff. Let me create separation,
Mm-hmm.
racism, all these sexisms, all these things, all these isms. It really boils down to knowing who God has called you to in the original state,
Yeah.
and knowing that God has called you to his presence. He has called you to work. He has called you to responsibility. He has called you to oversee. And there's so many things that are left under the radar. You don't hear enough of this conversation. So that's why I decided to have these conversations with men, because there's just a special blessing when men come together. There's a special sound when men come together and speak. There's just when a man gets connected to who he was gets connected to who he is and what he was called to do, and he becomes unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's just having that spoken to you, someone sharing that with you. You have so many men that die with dreams, so many men that die not speaking up. So many men that die seeing crimes and crazy stuff on the street and not speaking up. You were designed to protect. You were designed to lead. You were designed to carry the weight and the burden. What if a group of men that just decided to get together and do something about certain matters in the world? Of course, they may try to defy women, and women do amazing things, but it's something. But when men get together and they do a thing, it gets back to primitive, primal things. Like when I think about the tribes in the past and different things, just primitively speaking, in past time. If you go back 1,000 years, if you just look at the nature of a man then, it was completely different, and how he led his government, whether it was in the rainforest, wherever they may be, it was completely different. There was a different harmony. There was a different structure. And then you have now to where you have imbalance. Yeah. And it causes all these problems and these things that we have going on today. But men have to not ask for permission to be who they're called to be. Like they must take it back.
That's right.
Yeah. So
God already gave it to you. You don't have to ask for permission for your God-given traits.
You don't have to ask for anything that was already yours in the first place.
That's it. Yeah. So I know that the time has drawn nigh. And so I'm going to put your contact information off to the side so people can reach out to you so that they can, and also the Primal Man as well, so they can tune in every Monday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? And are they free to contact you for questions that they may have as well? What's your best contact information, Bruce?
Is Primal Man of God at gmail.com.
So I want to thank you for sharing your story, and I know there's so much more to tell.
Yeah, but a lot. That's just like I had to start somewhere with that.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. I feel like between the two platforms, we're going to hear more of your story. Don't stop telling it. Don't stop sharing it. Don't stop encouraging. Really, we need more men like you in a public setting to continue to encourage men to stand and be who God designed them to be, to return to the thought that God had for them when they were originally, when the conception was made. So I really applaud you. I'm so happy for you. Resounding congratulations to you, your wife, and your daughter. And really just keep on keeping on. If there's anything that I can do for you, please do, reach out and let me know.
I appreciate you, Robin. Thank you. And having me on the business Acumen, right? Acumen. Yeah, I really appreciate just having me on here, and many more blessings to what you're doing and how this is being operated through you is a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. And likewise for you. Just keep on keeping on.
Thank you again, Bruce, for your outpouring on this show today. May heaven smile on you and your flasks stay full. May the oil in your jar continue to overflow and the grace of God continue to catapult you into new dimensions. Be sure to tune in to the next segment of Business Acumen with Cross-Cultural Talks. Don't forget to go and be great on purpose. God bless you.